I mean, I think, to quote Charles Handy, organizations are nothing without people. So whether you talk about GE appliances, you talk about IBM, if the people don't show up, you've just got an inert set of machines and processes and buildings and chairs and so on and so forth. So literally, people breathe life into the organization. Ironically, the traditional, the tyranny of the tangible, the structures and processes that we put in place are typically put in place to maximize profitability on the last value opportunity that we saw. And then we harden around those particular structures, processes, and technologies to kind of open the jaws of profitability. In so doing, we kind of, as Dorothy Leonard Barton would say, that those core competencies that we build to maximize profitability in the prior instantiation of what we're looking to do to create and capture value, limit us from seeing the next thing and frustrate the people, because the people at the edge who might see a new opportunity, essentially, it's the inverse of what Kevin was talking about. They essentially have to go and strap on the armor to go back into their own organization, to kind of pull people across functional silos, to work outside of the traditional functions to get something done. Because I call this structural lag. We tend to be structurally out of phase with the reality in the marketplace on an ongoing basis, because we get into this whole structural problem that I think Martin alluded to earlier. And so I kind of feel that, if you have people who have that passion and motivation, and they're given the autonomy, right, and the accountability on the other side. So there's aspiration. What's the shared aspiration that we want to achieve together? There's alignment in how I can find my own motivation towards that aspiration. There's autonomy in knowing that I'm allowed to apply my discretionary effort where I think I can add the most value. And then there's accountability, which is, and in so doing, I'm accountable for delivering. You get those four, you start to get this adaptability and agility to be able to kind of sense and respond at the edge rather than wait for permission from the middle. That requires a completely different framing of what leadership is. When we say leader, we tend to think about it as a person and a role. And I actually think in organizations, we have customer relationship systems, ERP systems, MRP systems, and I feel that organizations are leadership systems. And the one requirement for leadership that's universal, I believe, is followership, that people will follow you. And if you do the kind of work, organizational network analysis, you see, there's the formal hierarchy and there's the informal network, and most work gets done through the informal network. And you ask people, who would you follow into a storm? Who would you want to be with during a major transformation? And what we find from that research is fully 30% of the people that other people would follow are not on any formal hierarchical succession plan. So we have this nebulous term called leadership that we tend to ascribe to the hierarchy. And when Kevin went to hire and said, "Show me the org chart," he was looking for who are the leaders in the pyramid that I can go talk to, and they couldn't find one. There's ways of x-raying organizations now where you can understand what the trust network looks like, or what the energy network looks like, or what the decision-making network looks like, or who the culture keepers are. And I feel that we have a far higher resolution set of technologies, back to Martin's point, where we can really understand who works with whom to get what done in a much more organic way, and that the leadership system, to Kevin's point, needs to support that organic flow. If you look at teams in general, right, this goes back to the work that Rob Cross did years ago, looking at consulting teams, and this we relate to Martin's business, that there are some teams that dramatically outperform others, just like we hear this with software as well. There's software teams that dramatically outperform others, and when you started to try to get to the core of what was that created a 10x differentiation in teams' performance, it was energy. I feel energy in working together. You can do that with the San Francisco basketball team. You can do that with a software team. It's that the group feels that they are contributing within and across. They're bringing their best selves to what it is, and they have a unique contribution. And if you can unlock what I call discretionary effort, what people do because they're compelled to, not because they're commanded to, that's what the kind of leadership system you need. And I think it's the one that Kevin was starting to articulate. However, in order for any of that to happen, going back to my time at IBM, it doesn't happen unless the formal leader in the hierarchy, instead of getting out of their helicopter, as Rita talks about, let's go to grow, behaves so differently that people say, whoa, this is for real. and I have permission, perhaps, to now exercise my discretionary effort. And when the first failure happens, that there's coverage for that failure, because there will be many failures, 249 to 1, according to Alex Osterwalder, if you want to run a portfolio of kind of possibility.